Strategies. Brittany, I want to thank you so much for allowing us to come on today and present with you. And David, if we have our slides, I want to introduce you very quickly so we can get to the fun stuff. So I'll be brief, but just a word about who Preferred Strategies is, what we do, and why we're here to add value. So David, let me know when we're ready.
You guys see
Perfect.
my screen?
We've got it, David. Thank you. So I appreciate it. Topic for today, very cool stuff. Analytics and machine learning in 2021. At Preferred Strategies, we're passionate about all things data. And thank you, David. So this is who we are. Our team has been together just over 18 years. We are laser focused on business intelligence and data analytics. We have about 20 of the best minds assembled to partner with our clients on their data driven journey from reporting on what's happened all the way through up the data chain to predictive and prescriptive analytics, and truly being able to take data and turning it into actionable information. There's a lot more I could say about preferred strategies. Just know that we're about data and 20 years, and our focus is analytics. Next slide. So, my sincere pleasure. If you could actually go back one, David, I'm sorry. This is David right here in the company photo. He'll be our speaker. And then our founder right here, Adam Krieger, um, gentleman who started the company, is really where our culture begins and how we partner with our clients. Next slide, David. And that was the briefest intro I've done on us because, folks, I'm very excited to introduce your presenter today, David Kenninger, great individual, supports our clients the best manner possible, and is very passionate about his involvement with data analytics. So, David, rather than talk about all your accolades, I'm going to hand it over to you and let you take it from here.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Frank and GSI team for having us, and thank you everybody for joining today. So let's go ahead and review the agenda for today. So we'll start out with a brief introduction to what data science and machine learning is, and look at how these fields are being applied within the business. And we'll look at how how business analytics has evolved, and how these machine learning technologies are being integrated into modern data analytics platforms to enable everybody to generate advanced insights. Then we'll show a demo of these features over JD Edwards data using Microsoft's Power BI platform. I'll then summarize how Preferred Strategies can help you get started using these tools. And then lastly, if we have time, we'll take a look at how to create your own machine learning models easily with Power BI. All right, so let's go over a few definitions before we move forward. So artificial intelligence is really this catch-all term that refers to scenarios where a machine mimics the functions of human minds, such as learning and problem solving. So machine learning then is a type of AI that gives computers the ability to learn without being explicitly programmed to do so. And the general principle is to apply a statistical algorithm to a large data set in order to uncover relationships between the fields it contains. So data science is really this interdisciplinary field that uses scientific methods, algorithms, and computer systems to extract insights from data. And it's really combining the fields of computer science and math and statistics and most importantly, business domain knowledge in order to enable data-driven decision-making. So Gartner defines a citizen data scientist as a person who creates or generates machine learning models that use advanced analytics to answer business questions, but whose primary job function is outside the field of statistics, analytics, and machine learning. And I like to think of it sort of like WordPress for data analytics. So just like WordPress allowed anybody to create their own website within a few clicks, without needing a degree in web development, citizen data science attempts to do the same thing for data analytics. And the goal is really to again, create that platform in which anybody can extract insights from large amounts of data. So as consumers, we're exposed to AI every day, from your Netflix recommendations to your Google Maps route. The intelligence behind all of these predictions is powered by machine learning algorithms. And according to Netflix, 75% of the content that people watch is based on their recommendations, which use machine learning models to rank and then classify content based on what the algorithms think you'll enjoy. And similar technology is used by e-commerce companies like Amazon to predict and recommend items that are often sold together or related items that you might also be interested in. So there's many applications of data science and machine learning that your company can benefit from. So we can use machine learning models to match bank payments to AR invoices. We can create a churn risk model to tell us what customers are likely to stop using our product or service, so we can take some sort of action before that occurs. Another good example is centered on equipment monitoring or predictive maintenance for manufacturing operations, where we can use machine learning to predict when a piece of equipment is going to fail, so that we can step in and take some sort of action before it actually does. And furthermore, we can use prescriptive analytics to determine what part is going to fail and then submit a service ticket to our maintenance team so that they can go out and fix it before that a failure does occur. So the goal in most organizations is to move from traditional descriptive analytics or what happened and why to predictive and prescriptive analytics, which tells us what will happen and what we should do when it does happen. The problem with this picture is that when we go up in the value or the y-axis here, we can see that we're also increasing the difficulty involved. However, with new technologies that automate machine learning, analytic tools are enabling analysts without programming skills or degrees in data science to leverage advanced analytics. So this is the traditional analytics maturity curve. This particular version was introduced by SAP a few years ago. And the basic premise is that your analytics maturity, as your analytics maturity increases, so will the competitive advantage that your business has. So on the left, you have your descriptive or diagnostic analytics. And as we go up in the maturity curve, we have our predictive and prescriptive analytics. And then lastly, we have our autonomous systems, such as self-driving cars. In the middle of these two groups, there's this chasm or this deep divide, which many companies struggle to cross over because of limited data skills, resources, and technology constraints. And you can imagine it like to the left of the chasm is looking into a rear view mirror, and on the right is like looking at a navigation system. So while it's important to know where we're coming from, it's even more important to know where we're going. So on the left, we have our analytics that are powered by humans for humans. And this really involves collecting relevant data, translating it into business terms, and exposing that aggregated levels of information to the business via traditional reports and dashboards. And then users make decisions based on what they see and hopefully take appropriate actions. So then next we have predictive and prescriptive, which usually entails analytics powered by math for business process. And usually the goal is to create a predictive model that is automatically applied to new data as part of a automated business process. So for example, when a bank uses a predictive model to check the possibility of fraud each time you use your credit card, or when a retailer like Amazon determines what product to cross-sell you. So instead of making the data intuitive for humans, it needs to be prepared for algorithms, which means it needs to be denormalized and flattened, and usually you need to include as much detail as possible. And usually this takes a little bit longer due to large amounts of data required and the time to build and train the predictive models and then operationalize them. So the last step on the maturity curve is analytics powered by math and used by autonomous systems. For example, the self-driving car example, these use constantly updated algorithms to navigate and drive with little or no human interaction. Similar algorithms are used for breakthroughs in human-machine interfaces, such as digital assistants like Alexa and Siri and Google Home. So in the last 2 or 3 years, we've really seen a new segment appear that uses automated machine learning features built into analytic software platforms referred to as augmented or smart analytics. And this is where advanced algorithms are being used to augment the traditional analytical process. For example, They can be used to correlate data. They can be used to automatically spot what's statistically significant or unusual about a data set, and even group data into clusters. And this new segment has really helped businesses gain more competitive advantage or value from their analytics systems without needing the additional skills and resources to cross that divide or chasm. So in our demo, we'll look at how many of these new features are being built into Power BI. Okay, so in today's demo, we'll take on two personas. The first will be that of the VP of sales for our fictitious consumer electronics organization, and we'll walk through consuming insights with Power BI. And in the second role, we'll switch to an analyst and see how augmented analytics can help create some compelling reports and dashboards. So I'm going to go ahead and open up a browser and go to powerbi.com. And then once I'm here, I'm going to click on my apps. An app in Power BI is a packaged up set of related reports and dashboards for end users or business users. So here I have a sales analytics app. And you can see that when I click on it, it's going to take me to my dashboard. And a dashboard in Power BI is really that single view into the health or performance of my business that can combine data from multiple different data sources in one view here. So we have some information coming from sales as well as inventory. So right off the bat here, I can see that I have some issues with my gross profit percent, and it seems to be down versus our prior year value. So if I click on this tile, it's going to take me down to the underlying report that supports it. And a report in Power BI is really that interactive, traditional slice and dice layer of the Power BI content. And this is where I can do traditional things like, maybe select a slicer value here. So instead of looking at our values month to date, maybe I want to look at them year to date. I could also, update the year and period that I'm looking at. And then I can start to explore this a little bit further. Maybe I just want to look at retail. I can select retail, and then it's going to do that standard stuff where, now it's filtering down the visualizations on the page here. I can also, hover over different data points and get additional context via these report tooltips here. So I can see in this case how David Williams has performed within the period that I have selected. Then I can do other standard things like, drill down into the next level within the hierarchy here, so I can see how David Williams has performed against or within our different product groups. And then I can go from more aggregated levels of analysis, like you can see on this initial page here, to more detailed by drilling through. So I can now drill through, and I can go to the sales order details page here, so I can go down to the most granular level, the order number and order date for David Williams here, and see that detailed information. I can come back here, and this time, instead of drilling through to the sales order details, I'm going to drill through to the sales rep analysis page. So here you can see we are starting to have some of these new AI infused visualizations. So over here on the right, we have this natural language generation visual that provides a dynamic narrative of the analysis on the page. And you can see as I select different data points here, it's going to rewrite that narrative on the fly. Other AI visuals on this page here, I can see in my trend here, I have a forecast. So without having to know about the different forecasting algorithms, I can apply those to a visualization in Power BI in order to generate some meaningful forecast here. I can also use a relatively new feature within Power BI to detect anomalies or outliers within my data. So here you can see that there's 3 anomalies within the past year, and I can select one of them in order to see what's going on with that particular data point. So here, the sales amount was unexpectedly high for period 9 of 2019. It had a value of 111,000, which was above the expected range of 72 to 80,000. And then it goes and provides some correlation between the different fields for that particular value in that period to show you some possible explanations as well as a correlation strength. So I can see here that when we sell refrigerators in the product subgroup field, we had it had a 79% strength or correlation to our rise in our sales amount here, and then it even goes and provides you with a trend, so you can see our overall sales versus sales amount for refrigerators, and then for period 9, you can see that it definitely spikes for refrigerators. So I can come back here again to my initial sales overview page here, and I can drill into more detailed information because we're still trying to explain why our profit percent has faded or declined. So I can click on this this more information button here to take me down to the profit trends page of this report here, and you can see some similar things going on. I got a forecast visual in my gross profit trend chart over here, as well as a natural language generation visual here summarizing this trend in an easily consumed sort of executive summary format. All right, so we can see here that we have a new visualization that we haven't seen yet, and this is called the Q&A visual, and this allows me to use natural language in order to just ask questions about the data. So I can come in here and say, well, hey, show me some information around gross profit percent by my bottom 3 states. And you can see now that I have some issues going on with New York, Georgia, and Illinois has the lowest gross profit percent of 43%. And if I click on this data point now, it's an interactive visual that I can use to filter the rest of the visualizations on the page here. And so you can see here for Illinois, we had a decrease in our last period here. And so what if I just want to try to explain, hey, what's going on? What caused this decrease? I can use the automated insights, which uses machine learning to just analyze and explain the decrease here. And what this is going to do is present some relevant insights into why we had a 42% decrease in gross profit between period 10 and 11 of 2019. And you can see there's a lot of different values over here for you to scroll through. And once you find one that's relevant, we can investigate it. So here we can see that appliances and TV home theaters have the most significant decrease among our different product groups. And if we look at this further, you can see there's about a 50% decline between period 10 and 11 for our appliance product group, and about a 30% decline in TV home theater. So I can maybe want to get in touch with these departments and figure out, hey, what's going on, and try and right the ship. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and click on our next page over here in our report, which uses a AI-infused visual called a decomposition tree, and this allows us to do some root cause analysis to try and figure out what's driving this particular metric, which in this case is our gross profit percent. So if I click on the plus button here, you can see that I can go ahead and break this metric out by some different dimensions that were included in the visual, or I can use the AI intelligence in the visual to go ahead and scan the data set and find the field with the lowest value for gross profit percent. So if I click low value here, you can see that within the product field, our side-by-side products have the lowest gross profit percent of 17.4, and I can continue on this analysis here. So I can choose low value again, and then I can see that within New York and Atlanta, we had particularly low gross profit values here. So now maybe I want to get in touch with the managers of these different regions and figure out, is there some supply chain issues going on, or we're having some cost overruns, and try to get to the bottom of this profit fade issue. So the last visual that I'll show you in this demo is called the key influencers visual, and this uses, again, some machine learning, some automated machine learning to, in this case, show us what influences our gross profit percent to either increase or decrease. So if I set this to be decrease, it'll rerun the analysis. And now we can see that when we sell Galaxy Tab S3 products, the average gross profit percent decreases by 33.7%, and we can see how that stacks up against the other values within this particular product field. Then I can continue on and investigate further. So now I can see when we sell refrigerators, it looks like our average gross profit percent decreases by 25%, and we can see how that stacks up against the other product subgroups. And this is all interactive, so as I click around on this, I can run it for different regions or perhaps different channels as well, and see if I can get some further insights. Okay, so now let's switch gears and we'll look at how we can maybe add a sales forecast to this to our VP of Sales dashboard. So I can come in here and leave a comment for my analysts and say, hey, David, can you go and add a forecast to this dashboard? And then David's going to get a notification in his mobile app as well as up here in the Power BI user interface, and he can go and take action. So let's switch gears now, and I'll come over here to a workspace. And a workspace is really the developer environment for Power BI. So this is where you're going to collaborate and actively develop and test content before we publish it out to our end users here. So I can go and find the particular report that will add the forecast to. In this case, it's be our sales analytics report. And I can come in here and choose File and download the PBIX. What that's going to do is allow me to edit this report that we're viewing in the cloud in the Power BI desktop application. So if I come over here, and for the sake of time, I've already downloaded it, and I can open up Power BI desktop. Let's see if I can move this. There we go. All right, so now you can see that same report here, but now I can start to develop some new analysis. So if I come in here to add new page here, you can see I just have a blank canvas, right? And so instead of dragging the fields onto the canvas and adding visualizations as you would do traditionally, let's see how we can use AI and machine learning to speed up our time to insight here. So if I just double click on this, it's going to launch that similar Q&A experience that we saw in the VP of Sales dashboard demo, except now I can come in here and just start to build some visualization. So if I say, hey, show me my sales amount by year period here, you'll see that Power BI has, based on the fields that I entered into the search box or the query, it's going to choose the right visualization for those particular fields. So in this case, it gave me a line chart, which is exactly what I wanted for this trend visualization, and I can choose to turn that into a standard visualization on the page. So now I can configure it just like any other visualization within Power BI. So let's go ahead and add another visualization. So I'll double click again, and now let's look at how we can add some information around our different for our different sales reps. So if I come here and do sales amount by sales rep, you can see that based upon these fields, it's chosen a bar chart, and this is indeed the best visualization for this analysis. So I'll choose to turn that into a visualization on the page, and now I can use it like any other and start to interact with the data. So let's look at how we can enrich this data with some of the automated machine learning features here embedded in the platform. So I can see under the analytics pane of the visualization section of Power BI desktop here, I have some different dynamic values that I can add to this visualization. So here I could choose find anomalies, for example, and that's how we can add that anomaly analysis to this particular visualization. You can see I have a sensitivity parameter here that I can set in order to adjust the different ranges that's used to determine whether or not something's an anomaly. And then once I do that, you can see I have one anomaly here for period 1 of 2019. If I click on that, you can see that Power BI is going to scan the data set and try to find the fields that could possibly explain this anomaly. But I can adjust this further. I can come in here to customer, and I can And maybe I just want to include certain fields to explain these anomalies. So I could use channel, customer name, maybe my different sales reps, and I can choose apply. And now that possible explanation is going to be limited to the fields that I've chosen here. So in this case, sales rep and channel seem to be the most possible explanations. All right, so let's go back to the matter at hand here, which is adding the forecast. So I'll get rid of this anomaly here, and I'll choose forecast and add. All right, so in this case, we have a few parameters to set up in order to get this forecast working. So I'm going to forecast out for the next 6 months, but I'm going to ignore the last 3 months so we can hindcast or test the validity of our forecast feature here. So I'm going to leave the confidence interval at 95%. And then for seasonality, there's 12 months in a year, so I'll choose 12 and then apply here. And you can see now that I have this new forecast built into the visualization. I can choose to maybe format this a bit, change it to orange and dashed here. And now as I select a value here, I can actually see how, you can see it change. And so now we can see the forecast for just one particular sales rep. All right, so I'm going to add another visualization down here by just double clicking. In this case, we'll add another measure to the mix here. So I'll choose sales amount and gross profit percent by our different products. Okay, and so now I have two measures, one dimension. Power BI knows that maybe let's show a scatter plot so we can show some correlation between these measures. And once we have the visualization we want, we can choose to turn this into a standard visual on the page. So now I can start to configure further. So for example, I can come in here, let me make this bigger so you can see it a bit better, and I can choose the sales table over here where we have all of our predefined measures. That's part of the quick launch solution here. And maybe we want to grab another gross profit field. So instead of the sales amount, I'm going to come here to gross profit folder, and I'm going to grab the gross profit dollars and choose to size our data points by our gross profit dollars. And then maybe we'll turn our category labels on so we can see what each one of these data points represents. All right, so this is looking better, but now as the analyst, what if I just want to find some natural groupings within our different products here? I can come to the more options button up here, and I can choose to automatically find clusters. And so what this is going to do is, without having to know, what a k-means clustering algorithm is and how to configure it, it's just going to, do that for me. So I can come in here and say, hey, let's find our product segments here, and we'll let Power BI determine the number of clusters to find. And so again, this is going to find some groupings within our different products. So here you can see it found 3 different groups or clusters that it found that it thought was relevant. And the cool thing about this is now this machine learning technology is actually augmenting my data model. So if I come over here to item table here, you can see I have this new product segment field that's been added, and I can configure this further, like to give it more context and provide more insights. So for cluster 1, this looks to be our high margin product, so I can list that as high margin. Over here, cluster 2 looks to be low margin, and our cluster 3 seems to be our top performers. So I'll go ahead and just enter those values here and choose OK. And now you can see that it's going to update my legend up here, so that provides a little more context to my users here. And so again, now this is part of my data model, so I can add this to other analyses on the page here. So if I want to see, for example, how my different sales reps are performing within these new product segments that we just found, I can add this field to the legend here. Maybe switch up the visualization to be a stack bar. Try that one more time. And now we can see, looks like Jason Lee is selling a lot of low margin products that make up most of his sales, and Robert O'Neill as well. And then our third performing sales rep over here, David Williams, seems to be selling more high margin products. And again, this is going to be all dynamic. So now if I want to select on different points here, you can see it's going to update the rest of the visualizations on the page here, including my forecast on the right. Okay, so let's add one more visualization to this page. You can see over here again, our sales slumped off between the last period of the year. So I'm going to come in here and just right click. And again, I'm going to use this automated insights feature to explain the decrease. Except this time, I'm going to actually be able to add this visualization to my report. So you can see again, you can scan the different insights that it found until you find one that's significant to you. So in this case, we don't have any customer information on this page, so maybe we'll add some customer insights here. So you can see Overstock, Listen Up, and Sears had the largest decrease among our different customers, offsetting the increase within with our Wenger Electronics company. And again, so I can go ahead and just hit this plus button up here to add this visualization to the page. And now, without having to know how to configure a waterfall chart and customize this, it's already done that for me. And this is again just a part of the report now. So as I click around, it's going to update and allow me to slice and dice this and find insights. So this is looking pretty good. So now what I'm going to do is just publish this back up to the Power BI service. So I'll choose the publish button and save it, and it's going to say, hey, there's actually a report out there with this name. Do you want to replace it? And I'll choose yes once it comes up. My internet's been a little slow this morning. So I actually did a little cooking show approach and already published this up. So I'm going to go ahead and jump back into my workspace here. And if I come down to my sales forecast, you can see this same page has been now added to the report in the Power BI service, or the cloud component of the Power BI platform. And now if I want to get this sales forecast visual to my VP of sales, I can come up here to pin the visual and then add this to the existing VP of sales dashboard. So I'll choose pin here, and then I can go to the dashboard and make sure that that's looking good. So here we have our new forecast visualization. And so I can come back here to the workspace and then push this to my VP of sales by updating the app here. So within a few clicks now, I've created and enriched the VP of Sales reports with using the augmented analytics here. And now I can message my VP of Sales and say, hey, go check out your new dashboard with the insights that you asked for. Okay, so I'm going to switch back over to PowerPoint and continue on. So if machine learning and data science is so great, why isn't everybody using it? Well, there are a few challenges facing enterprises attempting to adopt machine learning. And first, there's just a massive amount of data to have to analyze manually. And you have data coming from on-prem relational databases like JDE, or cloud data from IoT devices, or social media, or software as a service platforms. And the list really keeps growing every day. And next, there's just really a shortage of people that have the PhDs in data science and the skills to model all of this data effectively. And then even if you're lucky enough to get this far, you have to figure out how to actually operationalize this within the business to produce value and get some ROI on your investment. So generally when we think of data scientists spending their day, we think of them building algorithms and exploring data and doing predictive analysis. But this assumption is really not true. And according to a recent data science report, most companies today, in most companies, data scientists spend about 80% of their time just finding data and cleaning and organizing. So this is really where the quick launch solution shines. So this next slide illustrates the traditional data science workflow. And as I mentioned, to truly get the value out of data, you need to know how to properly extract it and relate and model the data into an analytics ready state. And so this is where our quick launch solution really helps by helping you transform that data into actionable information that's ready for analytics and machine learning. So again, we're doing the heavy lifting, and we're transforming the cryptic backend of your ERP system into a business-friendly and analytics-ready state. So we're translating table names and field names and converting dates and decimals and renaming UDCs into business-friendly names. Okay, so that takes us to our last demo here, which is around the auto machine learning feature in Power BI, where we can generate our own machine learning models, train and test those models, and review the results, and then apply that model to our data set in order to consume insights and reports. So I'm going to jump back over to my browser here, and I'm going to come to our Sales Analytics workspace once again. So I'll click on Sales Analytics. And now instead of content, well, let's look at data sets and data flows. And you can see out here I have a data flow called bike training. And a data flow in Power BI is really a self-service ETL in the cloud that allows you to bring in data into an Azure Data Lake storage environment in order to enrich that data. And so here I can choose this bike training, and we can see that within this data flow, we have our bike training table here, which provides us information on historical prospects and customers, and some demographic information around them, and then whether or not they bought a bike from us or not. And so that an integer field here is really going to be a 1 or a 0, indicating whether they bought a bike or didn't buy a bike from us. And then our prospective buyers is going to be new prospects that we don't know whether they're not going to buy, whether or not they're going to buy a bike from us, and we're trying to predict, if they are or not. So this is the data that we're going to apply the machine learning to. So I'm going to come in here to machine learning models in this data flow, and I can come to add a machine learning model here, which presents me with this simple no-code environment in order to create a model quickly. So I can come in here to our entity, and we'll choose the bike training or the historical data here. And for the outcome field, I'll choose to predict whether or not they're going to buy a bike from us or not. And then I can choose next here. And what this is going to do is look at the table of data and look at the field we're trying to predict, and then choose the best model for me to use. So in this case, it shows the binary prediction model, which is good for predicting whether something is true or false, or A or B. And if I don't want this model, I want to select a different one, I can come here to select a different model. And you can see here I have, for this particular fields and parameters I've provided, I have 3 different models that it recommends: the binary, the general classification, which is predicting whether it falls in different groups like good credit, bad credit, or average credit. And then we also have regression, which is how you can predict a numerical value such as sales or home values. All right, so I'm going to choose the one that Power BI recommended, the binary prediction here. And again, we're going to predict whether or not somebody is a buyer or not, and a 1 indicates that they did buy a bike from us. So I'll choose 1 here, and then instead of 1, we'll choose to indicate whether they're a buyer or not a buyer. And then I can choose next down here. So now what Power BI is doing is scanning the data and trying to do some feature selection, or choose the columns in the entity that are most likely to impact whether or not somebody is going to be a predicted buyer or not buyer. And so you can see here it's gone and chosen some fields it thinks are most relevant, but we can go ahead and override this and just choose to explore the data and add some additional fields in here as well to include in our model. So I'll choose next here, and here's where I can, add a name, so buyer prediction model. I can also set the training time here, which obviously the longer we train the model, the more accurate it's likely to be. But for the interest of time, I've already saved and trained this model, so I'm going to come back to our data flow workspace here, and here we have this bike buyer prediction model that I created before, and I can choose to view some details on this which is going to load up the model training report. And this really summarizes the performance of the model and gives us some training details that you can then use to optimize it, or even pass along to a data scientist within your company, or at a partner that you're working with. So if I click over down here at the model performance page of the report, you can see I have a area under the curve score of 81%. So this is pretty good. 50% score would be just like flipping a coin, right? So that's obviously, we obviously want to be better than 50% in order to provide value here. And then I can also see the top predictors that we are most likely to determine whether or not somebody's going to buy a bike from us. So here we have marital status is single, we have age, we have number of cars as the most likely, or the most influential predictors here. And so we can explore this further if we like. We can also set some this parameter, which at 50%, if the prospect's prediction score is above 50%, then we'll indicate that they are a buyer. And if it's lower than 50%, then we'll indicate that they are not going to be a buyer. And we can start to adjust this based on the type of model we're creating. So if we're an insurance company and we're trying to determine whether or not something is going to be a fraudulent transaction, then we can adjust this model so that we have less false negatives, because we don't want to predict that something's not going to be fraud and then it actually is fraud. So it's better to have lower amounts of false negatives. Or if we're, in this case, if we're a marketing department and we're trying to determine who's going to buy a bike to optimize a marketing campaign, then we can adjust this to have an increased precision, so that we're lowering the amount of false positives, because we don't want to end up spamming a bunch of people by predicting that they want to buy a bike, but then them not actually being a buyer. So we can adjust that threshold here, and then we can also come to the accuracy page, and we can see some more details into that 81% area under the curve score. And then I could also come to training details here, and this will show me some information on what the final algorithm that was used, as well as how many iterations it took, some different feature information, and then it also shows the different models that were applied during those iterations. So again, we can pass this along to a data scientist on the team for them to use further if we want to start iterating on this model. So then we're going to come to apply the model. So this is where we can actually start to get some value from this data model here. So excuse me, from this machine learning model. And so I can come here and I can choose the prospective buyers, which is that table of our different prospects that we want to indicate whether they're likely to buy a bike from us. And then we can choose the output prediction column that it's going to enrich that table with. And then we'll leave our threshold here that we indicate, and we can just save and apply here. And it's going to apply this prediction to our entity in our data flow here. So if I come back to my sales analytics and the bike training, you can see now that I'll have a new enriched prospective buyers entity here, or table. And then if I scroll down, you can see the fields that were added down here from applying our machine learning model. So ultimately, now we need to visualize these insights and pass them to the business here. So in Power BI Desktop, I can connect to this entity out here in this data flow, and I can build a report. So here we have a report that shows the likelihood of people buying across some different dimensions that we've included here in the model. So here I have the bike buyer prediction set to true. So these are all the number of prospects that we predict are going to be buyers here. And you can see that the first one here, we have a lot in the west region of the United States. So I can actually select these, and you'll see that it's going to update the other visualizations on the page. So as a marketing professional, I can start segmenting my marketing campaign here, my list of prospects. So I can also see that it seems like most of our buyers are going to be single. So I can select our single and further segment this this subset of our prospects down. And it looks like most of our predicted buyers are male as well. So I can click that as well, and you can see now that all of my my list of prospects has been filtered based on the selections that I've just made. And what I can do now is actually just export this table into a CSV or an Excel file, and then I can use that to feed into my marketing platform in order to create a list that I can then send a marketing campaign to. So that's how we can take it full circle and create a machine learning model, and then visualize it, and then ultimately take some sort of action and to realize some ROI on this process. Okay, so let's go ahead and wrap up in PowerPoint. So come back over here. So some resources for you. Microsoft has some great documentation on advanced analytics and AI and machine learning that's being infused into their platform. So I've included a link to get you started there. There's also a link to an SAP blog that goes into the analytics maturity curve that you can reference. And then if you're interested in that last demo, the machine learning, automated machine learning in Power BI, there's a company called Blue Granite that does a AI in a day course or program that you can follow through step by step on how to set that machine learning model up with. Okay, so that takes me to the conclusion. I hope I've provided you with some insights and into the trends of data analytics into 2021, and show you how automated machine learning and augmented analytics is really helping data professionals. And with that, I can pass it back over to the team for any questions or wrap up that they want to do.
Yeah, thanks, David. Yeah, I just wanted to go over a couple of follow-up items, and then we'll actually get into the Q&A session. I don't know if you saw, there were a couple of questions that did come in, but we can definitely get into that. So give me a second. I'm going to share my screen really quick. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can, yes.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure.
Yep.
All right. Are you seeing my screen?
Yep. Yes.
Okay. All right, cool. Thanks. All right. I just want to let everybody know that GSI does provide free educational resources, including our weekly educational webcasts, as we're doing now. A monthly newsletter called the GSI Insider. We do have an online resource center where you can access these on-demand webcasts, white papers, etc. So today's webcast will go on our website if you wanted to, check that out. And then also it will go on YouTube, and we are offering virtual workshops at this time. If you would like to sign up for our weekly email reminders and upcoming webcast or our monthly newsletter, you can create an account at getgsi.com. ERP Talk is our problem-solving forum where you can get your enterprise application questions answered, as well as contribute your answers to others' questions. And then you can stay connected with us on social media. All of our handles are currently listed on the screen. All right, and with that, we will actually get into questions, and I will let David and his team handle that portion.
Sure, thank you. So the first question I got was, excuse me, can we get a copy of the PBIX file that was used? And I've never had anybody ask for it. I don't think it's going to be an issue. Let me consult with my internal team and see if they have any issues, but I think that we can definitely make that available to you, Matthew. And then the next one is, how is this different from Oracle BI? And I think that the best way, I guess, to answer this is to show my screen again. So
let me stop my share and then you can go ahead.
Oh, okay, cool.
There you go.
Where to go? Let me know if you can share my screen, or excuse me, if you can see my screen.
We see it.
Okay, cool. So, I mean, how is this different than Oracle? I guess, you know, the main thing is the amount of development and the, you know, the momentum that the different companies have. So you can see here in the Magic Quadrant for business intelligence for 2020, the latest one they released, you can see Microsoft's, you know, the leader of BI and analytics platforms, followed by Tableau, and Oracle is way down here. And if we click on this, you can kind of see the trend that Oracle's had. So I think mainly it's just about where the companies are at in their analytics maturity that's been baked into the product. It's been a while since I've looked at Oracle's cloud BI solution. I wouldn't be surprised if they are embedding similar automated machine learning features into their product as well, but I honestly can't speak to the, you know, technical differences between the two platforms, other than you know, you know, just that Microsoft seems to be the leader at this current time. See if there's any other. I think that wraps it up. Someone was asking if there was going to be a recording of this available. I'm not sure if that's going to happen or not. Do you guys know, GSI?
Yeah, there will, I'm actually recording it now, and we will put it on our website. And then after this, you will receive a follow-up email with a copy of the recording. So you will definitely get a copy of it.
Perfect. Well, David, thank you very much for spending your time with us and the audience to share a little bit about what we're doing here at Preferred Strategies, how we're helping customers on their data-driven journey, how to make you know, our users and customers smarter with data. So really appreciate that. We will be following up with everybody, make sure that if there's any questions, you want to see it, get your hands on a trial, you want to take it to the next step, we're happy to share with you those experiences. So Dave, thank you very much. Brittany, thank you very much for hosting us today.
Thank you guys very much. You're welcome.
Great, thanks, Joe.
Thanks.
Bye all.
Bye.